Committee on Rehab will come to order, and clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chair?
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I want to take care of a couple of house cleaning issues. Hopefully, this will be our last meeting of rehab for this session. We had a bill, Senator DeStaff's bill, that we kept in the breast of the committee, and earlier in the session, I talked about trying to put a subcommittee together to really get this thing figured out, so we're not back here every year on the food beverage ratio. So at the chair's prerogative, Senator DeStaff will be the chair of that subcommittee. Members will be Senator Mason, Senator Spruill, Senator McDougal, and Senator McPike. So over this next period between the two sessions, if you guys will get with Senator DeStaff, he'll put out a schedule, and David will help with that. We're going to take up several bills this morning in a block. There's two bills that are identical, and if we report them, we have to reaffirm to finance. That is House Bill 826 and House Bill 620, and I take that motion. So we have House Bill.
And refer to finance.
All right, so the motion is to put them in a block and re-refer to finance and report them out. Clerk will call the roll. We need two votes? We need one.
826.
Do I have them wrong? Yeah, that's right, 1602 and 826.
Yeas 13, nays 0.
Okay, those bills are out of here. The next bill I'd like the committee to take up, and it's going to be out of order a little bit, but I've already talked to the patron, Delegate Corey. We're going to start off with feminine hygiene products this morning.
Okay.
Delegate, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, committee members. And I appreciate your hearing my bill early on. HB 83, as everybody always says about their bills, is a very simple bill. And it simply requires the State Board of Corrections to adopt and implement a standard to ensure the provision of feminine hygiene products to female inmates without charge, and also the Director of Corrections shall adopt and implement the same standard. Some of you might have heard that ensuring the regular delivery upon request of menstrual products to female inmates has become somewhat of a problem, and that is why people brought me this bill. However, I have been working with the Department of Corrections and the sheriffs, and we're all on the same page.
Thank you, Delegate. Does anybody wish to speak against the bill? All right, it's been moved and seconded. Well, let me ask, anybody in favor of the bill? I'm assuming everybody's in favor. Okay, if you'll just raise your hand, that'd be great. All right, thank you, ladies. It's been moved and seconded to report the bill. It does not need to go to finance. All those in favor vote aye.
Oh, wow. Thank you. This
Thank
is a
you,
great
Debbie.
way to start a Friday. Thank you very much.
Let's see what my sign-up list is. Delegate Herring. Committee will bring their attention to House Bill 437. It is similar to Senator Evans' Bill 920 that reported out of Rehab 15-0. If you can just talk about the differences
Right.
between the two, I understand you don't want to conform.
That is
And I
correct.
think I talked to Senator Evans, and he was fine with that, and you guys will figure it out over
Right.
that. Okay.
And the differences in the bill is that Senator Evans, this has to do with adoption and foster care and barrier crimes, and specifically it's with a drug conviction, Virginia code right now says 10 years. You need to wait. Senator Evans' bill reduced it consistent with the federal guidelines, which is 5 years. I kept it at 8 years because not only just the concern of members in the House with someone who has had a drug felony conviction, but also the concerns of, honestly, myself with replacing children with somebody who has had a drug conviction. So what my bill does is that we take it back to just 8 years. And then we will have a requirement that there's a completion of the substance abuse program and also testing 90 days prior to the placement. And I think it's a more modest approach, and considering what we are seeing in the state with the opioid crisis, I just wanted to make sure that we're placing children safely instead of following the federal guidelines. So, and you all heard from the family, the Tarantino family, and this would also help them in their adoptions.
Any members have a question for the patron?
Mr. Chairman, just
Senator Cosgrove.
just so the members understand, if we pass Senator Herring's bill as is, basically that then, if it goes through the Senate floor, will go straight to the governor. There won't be any conference between Senator Evans' bill and this bill. And I'm not problem. There's no problem.
No, that is correct. He conformed my bill in the House Courts of Justice Committee. He conformed his bill to be exactly like mine in the House Committee.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to report the bill. Clerk will call the roll.
Right, thank you.
14-0. You're out of here. Thank you very
you.
much. All right, we're going to take up, next in the list is Delegate Landis, HB 1541. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this is the second year I've been before you related to this legislation, House Bill 1541, and I know, Mr. Chairman, you're very familiar with this.
Very familiar.
Would create a new limited mixed beverage license for premium cigar shops. The bill sets out the privileges for the new license, and including a requirement that at least 60% of the licensee's annual gross revenue be from the sale of premium cigars and tobacco products. The bill also defines cigar shops and sets out the state and local license taxes for the fees for the license. The House amended the bill from the original bill from last year. The definitions and all those stay pretty much the same, but it limits it to only 18 events a year, and that was to try to more narrowly draw down, if you will, the events that would be allowed to actually have alcoholic beverages offered free to the individuals coming to events. Mr. Chairman, I think the opponents will come up and say that this is going to set the stage for bars in Virginia, or that the cigar individuals want to basically start then coming back and selling cigars. I can tell you from my perspective, that is not, in fact, what they have come to me about. This is to try to provide an additional opportunity to provide for events the opportunity to have mixed beverages or beer or wine with cigar events. I will tell you, Mr. Chairman, as a cigar smoker myself, many individuals enjoy having a simple drink with their cigar. In fact, it's not unlike wine tastings and the like, where they actually want to pair wine with other types of things. So, Mr. Chairman, that's the purpose of the legislation, and I hope be glad to answer any questions you all might have.
Do any members have a Senator Cosgrove?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I apologize. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Delegate Landis, first a question, then I'll speak to the bill. You say you're a cigar smoker yourself, and I look in the bill and it says premium cigars mean any handmade cigar valued at $2 or more. A $2 premium cigar, is that what you smoke?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Cosgrove, if I can get a premium cigar for $2, I will smoke those. Let me say, Mr. Chairman, premium cigars sometimes are offered at a lower rate, at $2 or $3, on average. Most of the time, they're $6 to $10 on average. It just depends on the type of special that the cigar shop may be providing. The other thing I would say, if you look at the definition, it talks about the need for the number in a humidor. So we're talking a walk-in humidor. So we're not talking just somebody who would have a mom and pop shop, grocery store, something like that. We're talking about somebody who's made a major investment in the cigars. But I agree with you. But the idea was to set at least a floor from the standpoint of the price, because there are sometimes specials that would be in that price range.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, just speak to.
Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, you know, when I was in the other body, we first started, I guess, my first or second year allowing wine in day spas, and then we have expanded that greatly. You know, I don't see where this is really any harm. It's the first time we've talked about really mixed drinks. But you're right, a premium cigar with a nice snifter or Grand Marnier is a pretty nice thing. And it does limit it to 18 events. And, you know, I think this is something whose time has come, and I'm going to support the bill.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Sproul.
Thank you. What is a premium cigar? I don't know nothing about cigar. What's a cigar? What's a premium cigar? What do you mean by that?
Senator Sproul, a premium cigar would be one, and there are individuals here that could go into much more detail, but they are actually hand-rolled. They're not manufactured from the standpoint of a process through a piece of equipment. Actually, somebody picks the tobacco. It's actually the filler, which is the inside, and then the wrapper, which is on the outside, and that's a different type of tobacco, and they actually hand-roll them. And make them that way. And then they're not like when I was growing up, Swisher Sweets or cigarillos or something like that, where you'd see those in a grocery store or a convenience store. There's something that's much more expensive.
Thank you.
Thank you. Why don't we, Senator Wagner?
I just have one question, and for some reason, for 27 years, I've been on one committee or another that's done this, and over the years. And I tell you what, it's always this one, that one, the next one. Here we go, here we go. I just want to ask Delegate Landis, how do you feel about just doing away with the food beverage ratio altogether and stop this madness of taking up 8 or 9 or 10 bills year after year after year? Would you be in support of that?
Mr. Chairman, I'd say to Senator Wagner, I don't have the benefit of serving on the General Laws Committee in the House side that takes up these measures. I thought both General Laws and this committee were going to work over the last year in looking at that issue. I would be supportive of looking at that and making it easier so that we don't have to make these exceptions. But Senator Wagner, as you know, you've got to deal with the law as we have it before us and trying to address an issue, and that's what we're trying to do here today.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a comment, okay? And it's just something that after all these years, until we do away with this, I'm not going to, and I've supported every one of these up until today, but this has gotten out of control. They come up here for special exceptions. I'm not going to support this bill, and it's nothing to do with you, Delegate Landis. Trust me, we'll see a lot of you in the next couple of weeks. But this has everything to do with, we keep doing this, we're never going to address the underlying food and beverage ratio. So I'm up for digging the heels in, and this is my, if you will, place where I stop and say, okay, until we just do away and eliminate the food and beverage ratio, you know, we're going to keep seeing these bills. So the next bill I want to vote on that moves forward eliminates that entire food and beverage ratio, and that's where I'm at right now, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Senator McPike?
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple what I consider friendly amendments, but I'd like to make those, I think, after hearing from other speakers, if that's all right.
Sure. Okay. Delegate Landis, why don't we hear from any opposition?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Tom Lisk, representing the Virginia Restaurant, Lodging, and Travel Association. And you all have heard this bill several times, so I won't trespass too long on your time. Just to reiterate, though, as Senator Cosgrove indicated, there are exceptions for day spas and art studios and a number of others for wine and beer. There is no exception in the law today for mixed beverages other than for distilleries. And the legislature created an exception to allow the distilleries to serve mixed beverages because they produce the spirits. No other business has the ability to serve mixed beverages unless they have food. And this committee has heard, probably to much more than you would like to, for years, about the debate within the restaurant industry about how much food must be sold. And the legislature has seen fit not to change that ratio. That's fine. But now you have a business saying, but we want to serve mixed beverages without food. And this will be the first carve-out outside of distilleries to allow that. And if you allow it for the cigar shops, you'll be inundated with other businesses, clothing shops, Jiffy Lube, whoever else says, why not us? Get a cocktail while you get your 30-minute oil change. Yeah, yeah. And so we just, as an industry, have to oppose this until we resolve the issue of food. Is food a necessary prerequisite to have the ability to serve mixed beverages? Whether it's right or wrong, the policy of the Commonwealth has been to treat spirits differently. You can buy beer and wine in the grocery store. You can't buy spirits in the grocery store. Restaurants that serve beer and wine have no ratio. Only restaurants that serve spirits have ratios. So we have treated spirits very differently, much more strictly. If you go down this path, we're leading to a path that's going to say, okay, well, spirits are the same as beer and wine. If that's what you want, let's get rid of the food ratio. Let's go ahead and put spirits in the grocery stores, privatization. This is the path you're going down if you approve this measure. For those reasons, we oppose it.
Thank you, Mr. Lisk. Mr. Loria.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Miles Loria representing the Downtown Business Group. I want to associate myself with Mr. Lisk's comments and just add two very brief ones of my own. Number one, you do have restaurants around the Commonwealth that have retrofitted their establishments to allow for people to enjoy a cigar, enjoy a beverage of their choice, and also enjoy food. They've put the capital expense into that. That does put them at a competitive disadvantage. The other thing I'd notice for y'all is to consider, right now, we're talking about a much more pared down bill, which we do appreciate. It's 18 times a year now. In a year or two, it's going to be 25 times a year. And then a year or two after that, it's going to be unlimited. So for those reasons, we'd ask you to oppose the bill. Thank you.
Senator Favola.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Maybe the patron can answer, or perhaps an expert. I mean, right now, we allow beauty shops to serve wine, and I think you can go to an art show, and galleries can serve wine. And I know bakeries now can serve wine. So I'm trying to, I believe wine has alcohol in it, so you can become just as inebriated drinking a lot of wine as you can drinking these spirits. So is there going to be a limit to how many or how much an individual can consume?
Yes.
And will the trainers, I mean, that's what it says in the language here, but
Yes, Senator
will there be
Favola.
training?
Senator
Delegate
Favola,
Landis, go ahead.
Senator Favola, there is a definition that limits it to two drinks, so that we're not talking about, you know, someone going in and just having drink after drink after drink. It's very limited. I would also say that only you all can either pass this bill or put any limits on it. And if somebody wanted to come back and try to expand that, only you all can do that. I mean, I think those arguments basically act like the General Assembly is not in existence from the standpoint of controlling any of these things. And that's why we're here today. I mean, obviously, we've not allowed these in the past, and that's what we're trying to do. But Senator Favola, it does limit the number of drinks very specifically, and actually to the point where the definition of the drink is very specific for a mixed beverage, so that it's, I believe, 2 ounces that we've got in the definition. So it's as narrowly drawn as we can make it.
Thank you, Delegate. Senator McPike, you want to?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a couple amendments, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Looking through the different code sections, the current bill, line 655, the proposed license fee is $20. I move that the $20 be stricken and insert $100. The $100 would be consistent with line 643, which is a mixed beverage limited caterers license, so it's consistent with other sections of the code. That is this is a limited situation, and I want to make sure that we have parity amongst license, and so move that amendment.
So it's been moved and seconded to change that line amendment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And Mr. Chairman, just to follow up, line 435,
Go ahead.
I would also move that the number of events in a year be changed from 18 to 15. I don't think that necessarily harms, but I think I'd be much more comfortable with that framework, and so move.
Doug Atlantis, you okay with that?
Mr. Chairman, I think that'd be fine. I don't think the intent was to try to limit when the House had that measure, and I don't think they would do any harm to the intent.
Okay, so that motion's in front of us. Do I have a
Mr.
motion?
Chairman.
The moved and seconded.
Mr. Chairman, before we do that.
Senator Cosgrove.
Mr. Chairman, I understand the $100 increase to keep track of the rest of the code, but changing from 18 to 15, I think it's superfluous. I don't think it's really based on much of anything besides, hey, I don't like 18, let's go with 15.
Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
I'd say, I think when the House discussed this, they moved it to 18 to allow for at least one a month, but maybe a couple other times a year. And I don't think whether it's 15 or 18, if that helps the legislation, I'm willing to, and I think the supporters are willing to go that route, because it would allow at least one a month. And a lot of times they're probably not going to do that. But trying to, again, limit and making sure they're not doing these, every week of every month, I think is the idea.
That would help you with Christmas and Thanksgiving and some of those.
Right,
meetings.
those special event times.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that motion is to report that amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. One, no nays. Senator Cosgrove. Okay. Anybody else wish to speak for the bill?
I'm going to report the bill as amended. Oh, I'm sorry. I withdraw.
Good morning.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Steve Burrill. I'm here this morning on behalf of the Cigar Association of Virginia. We support the bill. Indeed, we're proponents of the bill, and we support and have no objection to the amendments that have just been offered. I'm here to speak to a few of the questions that have been raised, but let me begin with Delegate Landis's bill. It's submit to you, it has been carefully crafted to define what is a premium cigar shop. By our estimation, approximately 50 stores may qualify. It's also been carefully crafted to define the number and quantity of drinks to 2. And it's, if you read it, it's specificity in here, so it's not, the difference between 2 fingers and 2 fingers. It's 2 ounces. And the other significant thing is now it's limited to 15 events a year. They will typically be associated with manufacturer reps sponsoring an event. It wouldn't be like Wednesday night specials. That's not the intent at all. So for those reasons, I believe we've addressed some of the issues that you would find in other exceptions. To Senator Favola's comment, I've counted up over 24 exceptions so far that run from day spas to gourmet food shops, gift shops, gourmet brewing shops, gourmet oyster house establishments, art facilities, cupcake shops, most breweries. Here in Richmond, Growlers to Go, the wine station, who are not required to provide any food. So there are any number of exceptions. And I certainly understand Senator Wagner's frustration. However, I respectfully submit that the bill is before this committee, and until there's been a study and a reconsideration, I'd submit that there's some equity here. This is the 3rd time this bill has been before the General Assembly, and I'm hoping the 3rd is the charm. The specter that every Tom, Dick, and Harry, from Jiffy Lubes to what have you, will be doing this, is rather demeaning, because that would suggest that you would approve that. I don't think that's going to be the case, nor is it likely to be expanded beyond the 15 events that we've requested. So I don't think this is going to run the risk of putting out a venerable establishment like the tobacco company, which has a long history. But we do think it will bring some equity to small business merchants And a representative of that group is going to speak to you now. So thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to the bill? Guy, come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Guy Rolling, I'm here today representing the Cigar Association of America. Our membership is composed of the major premium cigar manufacturers in the United States, and we are here in support of the bill.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I am a premium tobacconist, been in business for 47 years. I own shops in many of your districts, Sterling, Alexandria, Kingstown, Richmond, Manassas, Falls Church. We serve adults. It's an adult-only shop. The idea behind this bill is to help us compete with the struggles of the internet today by providing them an environment where they can learn and be educated about enjoyment and relaxation. So pairing a premium cigar with a glass of wine or fine scotch is the idea behind this. It's purely as an educational and tasting bill. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for coming down this morning. Appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Black.
Mr. Chairman, you know, I've listened to a lot of arguments on both sides, and I hear the argument about the Jiffy Lubes and that sort of thing, but a cigar shop is a pretty unique enterprise, and it is the kind of place where you go and you relax. And I can't stand to smoke cigars, frankly, but I know people just really enjoy that camaraderie and so forth. And I think it's a very narrow carve out. I don't think it's part of a Christmas tree. And for that reason, I would move that we pass the bill as amended.
So we have a motion to report the bill as amended. Clerk will call the roll.
Yeas 9, nays 5.
Yeas 9, nays 5. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your time and the
And Mr.
committee's
Chairman,
time.
before Delegate Landis
Senator
goes, you know, the chairman had the same bill, and we didn't treat it that way, so I hope that when the chairman is before you, you will remember that.
Senator Cosgrove, I'll make sure that we will. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Okay, we are going to take up, let me see who's in the queue. Delegate LaRock. Got it. Delegate LaRock has House Bill 1280. We heard this bill last year, it reported out of here 8-7. It passed the Senate 2811 in conference, and it was vetoed by the governor, and it narrowly almost got overridden 63-33 in the House. So Delegate Rock, with that, you want to pitch us what's different this year?
Yes, I will, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for that summary. What we have done this year is removed the provision that would have instructed the commissioners and local directors when processing these applications for public assistance. We've excluded from that list, which now includes identity, income, assets, death records, and correctional status. We've taken out lottery, and that was the component that would not have utilized existing databases, and so that also eliminated the costs associated with it. And hopefully, with that adjustment, it would the governor would see this as a positive initiative.
Gotcha. Any members have a question for Delegate LaRock? Any opposition to your bill wish to speak? Oh, Senator Favola.
Delegate LaRock, is there an error rate study or some evidence that had suggested this review was needed? What problem here are you trying to solve, or is this a proactive measure that you think is necessary?
Well, I could quote a couple of related examples from other states. Illinois in 2010 audited their Medicaid program and found 14,000 deceased people were on their Medicaid rolls. Arkansas in 2014 took a look at their Medicaid rolls and found that 3% were ineligible. And about the time this bill was passing through the legislature last year, there was an example that was pretty glaring. A woman from Arlington, I think, who had been found to have gamed the system for about $100,000 while her husband was working as a high-profile lawyer, making I think $1.5 million a year. She was charged with 4 counts of fraud, and I'm not sure what the outcome of that was. So there are examples, and I would submit that while the issue of Medicaid is certainly in flux here in Virginia, perhaps now more than ever, having a heightened attention to applications and eligibility would be in order.
Mr. Chairman.
I just
Senator
have a
Black.
follow-up question, Mr. Chairman.
Stand by, let me get Senator Black real quick.
Is it then your position that that dead people should not be able to receive Medicaid assistance?
Unless it's this body's will to change current law. That's exactly right, Senator Black. Thank you for that tough question.
All right, Senator Favola, you have a follow-up?
Yeah, just a follow-up question. I mean, the Medicaid application process sometimes is, well, it's cumbersome to begin with, although many jurisdictions are trying to do a one-stop shopping, but is this an every 6 month or every month review? Or so I'm trying to understand, would the department issue regulations? Maybe somebody from the department can come forward. How often would you be expecting the caseworkers to be doing this?
Upon any time that person applies. Well, if reapplication is an application, yes, then it would apply. The goal of this is really not to change eligibility in any way, to exclude anyone that legitimately applies. In fact, I think it has one of the most redeeming aspects of it is that it assures that people that would commit fraud and access these funds mean that there is less money available then for the people who legitimately qualify. And but if there's someone here that can speak to the application process, then.
Senator Mason, you have a question?
Chairman, does this have to be referred to finance, I assume?
I don't have a note that it says it's got to go to finance. I think it's more of an administrative check to make sure that these folks that qualify for Medicaid are qualified to do that. So I don't have a report here from them.
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Delegate Rock.
The original fiscal impact did have a money component, but the wording in that attributed it specifically to the lottery portion, which was removed on the House side. So, thank you.
Yeah, I found it. There's no impact, so you're correct. So, yes, ma'am, you want to step on up?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. My name is Tony Blue Washington. I'm the Director of Division of Benefit Programs. Just wanted to answer your question, Senator Favola. We already engage in these activities during the application process, and so each one of the components in this bill, we already engage in the application process, and so we check each of these areas for application and reapplication. I hope that answers your question.
So, ma'am, this would just codify what you already do
Absolutely.
in existence. Okay. Yes, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Chris West, representing Opportunity Solutions Project. We support this legislation because it does simply codify current practice of social services, and it would ensure that these safeguards, when people apply, are there in the future in case any administration decided to roll that back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak to the bill?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for the department.
Okay. Senator Servo.
So, for those of us that practice law, we like to speak in fancy Latin words sometimes, which nobody else uses, but there's a principle of statutory construction called expressio unius est exclusio alterius, which is the idea that if something is specifically set forth in the law, then the intent of the legislature is not to allow anything else. And so my question would be that by specifically delineating the things you have to do, wouldn't that mean you couldn't do anything else? Say if technology evolves or new lists develop, then you all would not be able to do other things to catch these frauds. And so by putting a list in here like this, we might actually be limiting your ability to actually look for fraud?
I don't think this would be limiting us from doing any other activities. I wouldn't.
Is that based
agree
on
with
conversations with counsel? Or is
Senator
that, I'm sorry. Is that based on your conversations with an attorney? Is that just your sort of personal understanding based on the current law, which doesn't specifically delineate how you're to check for fraud?
All I can tell you is that we have systems in place that would check for each one of these activities. We have automated systems that would look at the death records. We already look at VEC records. We already look at prisoner matches, and we already look at IRS records or Social Security matches. And so there's nothing that would set apart anything that would, I'm trying to follow what you're asking me.
Further question, Mr. Chairman?
Senator Servo.
The current law does not specify the specific actions to take to determine whether or not somebody is committing fraud or not.
Correct.
My point is that by delineating the specific steps you're to take, we are excluding other steps that you might choose to take in the future, say as a new list develops. Suppose, for example, VEC decides to start monitoring who uses Uber or who uses Airbnb, or who's earning income from a lot of this gig economy stuff, which about 15% of the economy is now, and growing, is now using. And perhaps some new list might be developed where you could find out other people electronically by computer are earning income, but because we haven't listed it, you can't look at it. But right now, you could.
Right.
Is that a concern for the department?
At this time, no.
Okay.
Senator Black.
Mr. Chairman, if that is a concern, we could certainly amend the bill to say, shall at a minimum examine these, but not limited to words along those effects. Could council perhaps come up with some words of wisdom on that?
Okay. Sure. David?
Mr. Chair, Senator Black, I would note initially just that on lines 279, it states that a local director of a Department of Social Services in making this investigation is to verify an applicant's identity, income, assets, and any other information necessary for the purpose of determining eligibility. I think that that's broad enough to say that they can check any other resources necessary to determine if they are eligible to receive these benefits, but we could also as well, at the pleasure of the committee, add in here that this list shall not be.
Mr. Chairman.
Would that be a motion?
I agree with council. I think that would allow them to do whatever they want. They have to do those things and whatever else they determine in their discretion to do. I think that's covered, and I think statutory construction would say that they're not limited.
Okay. So the attorneys are done talking. So anybody else from the committee have a question for Delegate LaRock? Anyone else to speak against? I think I heard 4. Anybody wish to speak against the bill? Okay.
Move to report.
It's been moved, and do I have a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded the bill report. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Chairman, it's 20 seconds.
We're calling the roll, dude. I've already hit the button.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yay, 7, nay, 7.
Yay, 7, nay, 7.
Thank you,
Sorry
Mr.
about
Chairman,
that.
members of the committee.
Thanks, Delegate. Okay, next we're going to take up House Bill 1333, Delegate Brewer. It's similar to Senate Bill 44, which was reported out of here 14-1 with finance with amendments. It's similar to Senate Bill 636, which is reported 14-0, finance with amendments 15-0. So if we move forward on Delegate Brewer's bill, we have to conform it, and I think David has the amendment that adds the finance clause, so we don't have to put this up to finance. Senator Favola.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Delegate Brewer. This is a fine bill. I just want to note that the difference between her bill and my bill and Senator Donovan's bill is her bill has the clause, but I wanted to note that there is funding for kinship care, this bill, in both the House budget and the Senate budget. That's just FYI.
So Delegate Brewer, are you okay conforming your bill?
That would be fine.
Okay, and adding the clause that we have to add so you don't have to go up to finance? Okay, David, can you do that? Okay, yep.
Mr. Chair, the alignment would be on after line 347, insert that the provisions of this act shall not become effective unless an appropriation effectuating the purposes of this act is included in a general appropriation act passed in 2018 by the General Assembly that becomes law.
Okay. Yes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to conform and amend the bill Committee will vote. No, we're not sending it to finance because we do? We still got to send it to finance. Okay. We'll amend it and you want it in it? Okay. There you go. Committee will vote.
Yeas 13, nays 1.
Yeas 13, nays 1. You're out of here and
Thank you,
get to go
Mr.
see
Chairman.
Senator Hanger. Delegate Tyler, you have House Bill 1418,
Yes, sir.
and this is similar to Senator Marston's bill that came out of here 14-0, 851.
Yes.
And I understand you do not want to conform it. Is that correct? Or you do or don't?
I want his bill to be conformed to mine.
And he said he's okay with that.
Yes.
Moving
All right.
forward.
We have a motion to report. I don't think there's any opposition or, it's been moved and seconded to report the bill. All those in favor will vote aye.
Thank you.
You're out of here.
Nays 14.
14-0. I think last we have Delegate Levine, House Bill 136.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Delegate Levine, let me just hold you up there because you're back here, unfortunately, because I don't know if we chalk it up to being new or what, but you're here because I think some civilities of the chamber have been violated. And that's the only way I can tell you why you're back here. And I'm somewhat sad to know that you're back in this committee after your bill was on the floor and going through passage. I don't know that it does much good for your constituency. The good news is Senator Evans' bill came out of here 15-0. But we in this chamber, and I'll speak to this chamber, have some unwritten rules of things we do and don't do down in the General Assembly when we're here. I absolutely love my colleagues on both sides of the aisle, and we get along, we have dinner, and we don't, we tend not to do things that are inappropriate while we're down here. And it's one thing to go back to your constituency and do what you have to do in your district. It's another thing when you're down here working for the people that elected you to get here to get legislation passed. And you've taken some action in the last few days to demonize some folks on the other side of the aisle, and I think they took that rather personally, and that's why you're back here. And I'm not here to lecture you. You're a grown man, but you want to have a success in the legislature, I would highly encourage you to take some examples that are here from my colleagues on the other side of the aisle that do a fantastic job of bridging that gap and building relationships that not only are great and that will probably last a lifetime, but in the best interests of your constituency. So with that, I would entertain a motion.
Move to PBI.
I have a motion to PBI the bill. It's been moved and seconded. Committee will vote.
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman?
Guys, we're done. I just want to get out of here.
Yeas 7, nays 4.
Yeas 7, nays 4. Thank the delegate for sticking around and listening to me lecture to you. And if you'd like to talk after we get out of here, I'd be happy to talk.
I'd be happy to talk with someone about this.
Thank you very
I'd
much.
appreciate that.
With that, I want to thank the committee for all the hard work this year. Hopefully, nothing will get re-referred back to us where we have to have a meeting at the desk. And I just want to thank those members that I put on the subcommittee. You heard some testimony today about trying to resolve the food beverage ratio. And I would encourage those in the audience that represent the constituencies that want to resolve that to talk to Senator D. staff or members that are on that subcommittee. And with that, thank you all. The committee will rise.
Mr. Chairman, are you having your annual